Hey guys, hello. This is like the third intro I've tried to do. I'm going to keep it simple. We're doing Vlad the Impaler, okay? Very famous Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I love that book, okay? Apparently, Vlad the Impaler inspired that book. So let's go into this. Right, he was born in Romania in, I've got it here, the exact date, 1428, okay? Around the time of the Ottoman Empire. Well, it was called Wallachia. I'm sorry for those history buffs out there. I'm embarrassing myself right now. But I'm just trying to do a quick reading on it and get the basics, okay? So I have had some questions about him, and let's go into that now. Now, as always, I'm just going to pick a card for the theme for this reading. When the energy came through, wasn't really what I expected, if I'm honest. Very blunt, very straight to the point. A character. Ooh. Okay, that just fell out the pack, so we're going to keep this one. The High Priestess, intuitive, kind of hidden knowledge as well, okay? So we're just going to keep that as the theme for this reading, so you have something to look at, because that's what fell out the pack, okay? So when I said, well, what do you think of Dracula? Now, I had this word in my head for a couple of hours, and I thought, I'm just going to tell you guys, okay? So I had the word gimmick, okay? And literally, I'm sorry for you that want this big, elaborate reading on what he really thought. He gives me, the information comes through on what I need to know and what they're willing to give me, pretty much, okay? And on this, it was so short. All he said, the information that came through was a gimmick, but a story well told. So Dracula, the book Dracula, and everything, all the movies that have come after him, you know, a gimmick, but a story well told. And then he says, obviously, he was not really Dracula. They wanted to make him a monster, as it was a good story. This is the best line here that I got through. And many good stories have been created from rumours in history. And I love the way he said rumours there. Not facts, rumours. Rumours. The information gets lost as it goes down the line, is what he was trying to get across. I would say the energy is highly intelligent and very blunt. Highly intelligent, very blunt. Not one to take fools easily, I just heard. So if he doesn't agree with you, bye. Bye. You don't get second chances with this person, literally. I always get out of breath as well. I think it's the energy when it comes through. I get really breathless. Okay, and he really wanted to say as well, rumours in history, note the word rumour. Bloody rumours, okay? Now I said, how do you feel about people seeing you as unmerciless in war and on like all the atrocities that were committed, such as impaling thousands of people, you know? Don't mean to say, you know, like that, but I mean, can you imagine? It's just horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous, okay? To think of it back then. This is what he said. This is really through me, okay? Monstrosities are committed time and time again to defend countries, and it's still happening in your world today. The only difference is you have different equipment now. So back then, spears, swords, everything along those lines. Now it'd be completely different the way we have warfare now. So it seemed brutal back then, is what he's trying to get across, okay? He also said, we were always outnumbered, and back then, how did you expect us to fight? With guns, like nuclear weapons, bombs, okay? And get it over, you know, get it really over quickly, to get it done and get it over quickly. Wars back then were always bloody and brutal, and you are naive if you think it was just us. So it's pretty much saying, as a country, we're, you know, it's pretty naive to think this is the only country that would fight in this way. Okay, the impaling is something completely different, obviously, but this is what it says about that. The impaling was a shock factor, and I relished being called the Mad King, as no one messes with a cornered cat, and we were outnumbered. And what else did he say? So the rumours about him being a mad king, and he uses the word tactics for impaling, worked in our favour. So when he's on about the impaling, he uses it as tactical warfare. So it's not like he was just completely insane and just impaled thousands of people. It was a tactical move on his part because he knew they were outnumbered. And it's almost like to really add a shock value to terrify people and strike fear in the hearts of troops when they're like 100 to 1, probably more like 1,000 to 1, for God's sake, you know? So that's why it was tactical. And he really wanted to get that across. It was tactical move, the impaling. It was tactical warfare. He's very proud of himself, by the way, as being seen as highly, I just heard highly elite when it comes to understanding warfare. Highly elite, highly intelligent, very shrewd and clever in the way he worked. And he's proud of that. He's proud of that, okay? Now, and again, he's saying you get books in history throughout history about people that won wars throughout history, and they will have books about them and the tactical warfare and how intelligent they were that they did this, how clever, how incredible. You know, it's even used in some of the army today, their moves and stuff, okay, throughout history, relearning old battles. So he says, you still got that, you know, in other countries throughout history, you've written about battles. The ones that stuck with his battles was the impaling. And again, he's saying it's tactical warfare, okay? Did your first wife really fall to her death to escape the advancing army, you know, the Turkish army? Okay. So, I mean, I heard that there's rumors like she committed suicide. She jumped into the river from the castle because they were going to be invaded. I hardly had any information here. It was very blunt with the information I got back. I had here lost footing trying to escape, not intentional, or how it has been romanticized in the books. So they've romanticized it in the books, is what he's trying to say, is like, oh, the devastation of, I'm just going to fall to my death. He said lost footing. She would have done anything she could to keep going. You know, she wasn't the type to just jump. She was a fighter like him. She was prepared to fight for her country. And it's almost like she wanted to escape to come back and fight another day. A lioness. He was a lion, she was a lioness. So I did hear lost footing. Now, it's really hard to find information on this from so long ago, I'll be honest. I want to look into it more myself, but lost footing, that's the information I got through. Okay, also, when you and your brother were taken hostage by the Sultan Murad, obviously Ottoman Empire time, when you were younger, how did you feel when years later your brother stayed loyal to him? So basically, both brothers were taken hostage by the Sultan. They grew up with the Sultan. They were apparently highly educated while they were there, but it's messed up. Okay, so what he says was obviously his brother stayed behind. There's books saying he had Stockholm syndrome, where he started to become very, very close friends with the Sultan, whereas Vlad was always, I'm going to get my vengeance on you kind of thing. So his brother stayed and Vlad left and escaped. So he says, a defining moment in a betrayal between blood, which was unscrupulous, and whilst in some ways I had some sympathy for my brother's situation, to turn his back on our family was one I will never recover from. So a defining moment in his life, basically, and a defining moment in a betrayal between blood, which was unscrupulous. Now that word came through a lot, guys, unscrupulous. Like, yeah. Okay. This is the last part. Now, guys, I'm happy to do a part 2 if you have any more questions. I think this is fascinating, the whole thing, okay? Is there anything else you would like people to know, okay? This is quite hard-hitting. Again, that you are hypocrites if you do not think you do not do more damage in the modern world with your nuclear warfare, guns, massacres, and religious warfare. He was really trying to get across, it's just the way they thought back then, the way they not thought, okay? This is just the way it was back then. And we did what we could do to survive. And being outnumbered, surrounded, and left to the wolves by other nations, I would do anything in my power to protect my kingdom and my culture. Okay? Also, he wants to put across, he was seen as fair when ruling his kingdom by his own people. And out there, there's a statue of him in Romania. He's still seen as a national hero by them, okay? As for coming down hard on thieves, I've got goosebumps here because there were stories about they would just have their hands chopped off if they were caught stealing, and he was ruthless. They do that now, he's trying to say. They do that in today's Um, in the world today, that still happens. This is what he's trying to say, okay? As for coming down hard on thieves, all kingdoms came down hard on thieves back then, especially in the UK. They were known for their torture methods, and each country had their own torture methods. And I must admit, I remember growing up and going to some, my mum loved castles and history. Some of the torture things, devices I saw, you know, on these history tours of schools and everything like that for the UK, it just blew my mind. So he's just trying to get across this was the same for everybody back then. They all had their own methods, but the strongest point he's trying to say is, as a ruler, he was proud of his achievements and what he tried to do. He was protecting his country, he was protecting his people, he was protecting his homeland. Nobody was taking it from him. Nobody was taking it from him. But the main thing I keep getting with the impaling, tactical warfare, and it's quite adamant on that, on the tactical part. Also, lastly, guys, he wants to be known as the protector of his kingdom and as a tactical fighter, again, and accomplished in warfare, as what he achieved with such a small army gave rise to other smaller countries fighting fiercely for their own independence, and it set off a wave of people rising up to defend what's rightfully theirs. Now, I'm not sure about that part. I'd love to know if it was like a chain effect and he inspired other countries to fight for themselves and protect themselves as well. I do hear, though, he felt betrayed because some countries and neighbouring lands were bought out by the Sultan and the Ottoman Empire. Again, I don't know if that's true, but I just heard that the Sultan would pay his way. So he was so wealthy, he would buy people off, he'd buy whole countries off, he would buy people in warfare to be on their side and fight against him. And some people in his homeland as well that knew the country well, because he's trying to get across that the Sultan didn't really know tactically the country and what they were fighting with the mountains and everything like that. And Vlad did. And Vlad said for them to really take over Romania, they had to have, tactically, they needed to get people from Romania to fight for them, and they were paid off. And that's the biggest betrayal. His countrymen betrayed him, I'm hearing. And again, I'd be quite interested to know if there was any other, like any type of royalty in neighbouring countries, and especially Romanians that did that and left to fight for the Sultan. So yeah, it is actually really interesting. He's very blunt. He's very, very blunt. But that was the information I got through today. Sorry guys, when I did the Dracula, I was trying not to laugh because what do you think of Dracula? A gimmick but a story well told. That's it. That was it. You know? So, I hope that gave you a bit of information. Again, please ask away. Any more questions? I mean, if you really know the history of this, I'm more than happy to look into any questions you may have, guys, okay? But that is the reading for today. And yeah, he's definitely a character. Bye.